This is Frank Islam, Chairman and CEO of FI Investment Group and your host of Washington Current Review, where we interview leading voices from business, politics that impact you, the viewer. Today we're fortunate enough to have a guest who's a distinguished, and she is of Indian origin, but she is going to be running for the Fairfax board. So we're going to ask her what it's all about. Welcome to our show. And her name is Rachna Sizemore Heizer. I'm sorry. Thank you very much, Rachna, for coming over here. Appreciate your time.
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate the time as well and the chance to come here and introduce myself. My name is Rachna Sizemore Heizer, and I'm running for the Fairfax County School Board at large.
Well, why are you running for what purpose does this serve? What does it do?
So the school board is actually, Fairfax County Schools is the largest school district in Virginia. So we oversee a $3 billion budget. And 1 in 7 students are educated in Fairfax County, and I think we need the voice of the Indian population for our kids' education.
The voice of the people who are voiceless and vulnerable.
Exactly, and that's where I got my start. 12 years ago, I started advocating for people who didn't have a voice, whether it's because they're a population that hasn't been represented, whether they're kids with disabilities who don't get a voice, and that's been my passion for 12 years. I think it's important for every voice to be represented on the school board. So
well,
that's
I
why I'm
totally
here.
agree with you that. But you're going to have to, in order for you to get elected, you have to offer more than just a voice. You have to distinguish yourself, you have to define yourself, because you do have a lot of competitions. You want to make sure what defines you, what distinguishes you.
I'll say
I know
this,
you're a professor.
I am. I'm a professor.
So you know the education ins and out.
I do, and you know what distinguishes me as a professor, I see what happens when kids who aren't educated properly get to college. Right, they don't really, I see the skills they're lacking and I see the skills that are important for them to have. So I think on the school board, I can bring that experience to say, look, are we really teaching the kids the skills they need to be successful in college? The other thing I bring is
it's not only successful in the college, but it's successful to be part of the workforce of the 21st century.
Well, that's the important part, right? The need to understand technology, the need to understand the soft skills. You have companies like Microsoft these days that are teaching soft skills because our schools don't teach them.
That's correct.
Right, so my platform is really on how do we give our kids a holistic education, right? Communication, collaboration, academics, critical thinking. I think we've lost touch with that on the school board. And as a college professor, I know all of those pieces that are missing and how to teach them to our students.
Also, the students that you're talking about is the middle class students, or the student you're talking about the student body which goes to also college, as well as to the community colleges and the graduate school. Is that the board does it? Just the mostly the middle class student, K through 12?
It is. It's K through 12. It's the middle class students who are in public schools, but
Okay.
they're really the bedrock of our society.
Of course,
yeah.
You know, they're the one who will shape the future.
But even I will say,
not only for the county, but they shape the future for themselves and their family.
Absolutely, and I think it's
They
important.
are the hope of tomorrow.
Right. I mean, our future leaders are in our classrooms.
No question about
right?
that.
And we need to make sure all of our
future leaders of tomorrow.
Future leaders of tomorrow, the future ones that, you know, when you and I are old, they're going to be dictating policy for us, and I want to make sure they know what they're doing and they understand. But I mean, I'll be honest, I see some of these issues in terms of the soft skills, the work skills, even at our high achieving students. My daughter is a sophomore at Cornell University.
So you do have a children who you can relate to.
I do. I have, and that's one thing that sets me apart. I have kids in the school now, and a kid who's in college.
And you do want to make sure they have the right future to get a good education, so they can get a job.
Absolutely. Well, to get a job, and to get a job of something that they're good at.
And they can make a difference.
And they can make a difference. It's not just
the community.
It's getting a job. It's understanding their role in our society, right? It's
agree.
not just about what they want to do. It's about what they can contribute to the world around them to make it a better place.
So that's the kind of experience you bring to the table?
That is. So I have a varied experience and skills that I bring to the table. I've been spending 12 years looking at the problems with our school, working collaboratively with school leaders to fix those problems. I recently got a diploma change put in place in Virginia that will now allow 10,000 more students to be able to get a diploma to go to college and get federal student aid for college. So students who may not have been able to access the education that they were capable of can now access it. And it's because one of the things I bring to the table is if I see a problem, I want to fix it, and I'll go fix it. I take action. I don't just use words.
Do you have any success stories that you were able to find the problems and challenges and you were able to solve those?
Well, this is one, the diploma change is one great example, so thank you for that great question.
Sure.
One of the big issues we have in our state is if you are a
State of Virginia.
State of Virginia, if you're a military family, if you are a child with a disability, if you are passing your classes that we deem is what you need for your grade, but you don't pass the standardized test or you weren't in the state to take it, you can't get a diploma that lets you go to college. And I said, this is the problem. If you're passing your class, like when I was in school, we passed our class, you got your diploma. We shouldn't hinge our children's future on these high stakes testing. We should have a holistic measurement to make sure they know what they're doing. So I got the state of Virginia to put a special accommodation in for students who are passing their classes but may not be able to pass their tests with either through anxiety or a disability, to give them a path. So that way we don't close the door to their future. And that's a huge success that I've done. I've worked with the police department to make sure that we reduce the school to prison pipeline. Virginia has the worst school to prison pipeline in the entire nation. And we put in some training for the school resource officers, the police officers in schools, to make sure they are properly trained so they don't punish youth behavior while maintaining school security.
Wow. So I have 3 questions for you.
Absolutely.
Number 1 is, I have an institute called Frank Islam Civic Engagement Institute, where we give out the awards to the teachers, to the students, in order for them to be civically engaged. Because that's very important for us, all of us, to be civically engaged. We
Absolutely.
must fulfill the responsibility as citizens of this nation.
Absolutely.
So that's my one question. How do you get them civically engaged? And the second question is, how do you ensure that you can have a public and private partnership for them to get a job? You know, you need to educate the kids for tomorrow's jobs.
Those are 2 great questions. So the first question, how do you get them civically engaged? I will tell you, this generation, I see it with my daughter and her friends, are fired up and they are engaged. What we need to do is not get them passionate about engagement, but give them paths and an easy way to get engaged. These kids are busy with college and activities. If we say, here, let me give you some structure, they're ready, they're passionate. But the other question, for the ones who aren't ready, we need better civics education in our schools, 100%, not just in 8th grade, but in high school. That's better tied to what's happening in society now.
It starts from the K through 12. It starts from the very early.
It does, and we have civics education, but I think we need it better tied to, here are the issues of today. Here's how you can help. Here's how you vote. Here's why you vote. I think our civics education is more based, and I teach American government, so I know this well. It's based on what our system is, which is important, but we leave out, and here's how and why you should get involved now. And that, I think, is really important education in our schools.
My third question to you is, how do you ensure the eliminations? You cannot eliminate the whole thing for the school dropout.
Retention rates, right?
And the retention rate is very important for these schools, and this is not happening. What is it, 34% retention?
It's a 34% retention. The other issue...
It's not the retention, I'm talking about the dropout, which translates into the detention.
It does, and it's about a third of our students drop out of school.
And especially the people who are socially, economically disadvantaged background, which is what you bring to the table because you can relate to them.
I can, because I come from a background that isn't the majority background. I understand when I came to this country, I was born here, my parents moved back to India and came back. I didn't speak any English. I felt very lost and alone. And I'll tell you, the number 1 indicator that improves retention is a sense of belonging. So I think we need to do a better job of creating community schools where the schools reach out to make partnerships with community nonprofits that provide mental health, social supports, economic supports, and bring those organizations into our schools to help create community where the parents can come after school and access these services. The other thing we need to do is create better social inclusion and acceptance programs for our kids.
So you want to build a fair, stronger, inclusive, tolerant society, so we can make a difference.
Yes, I think we're all human, right? And we all need to learn how to accept each other, and that comes from being together, educated, and being given a place.
We are in this together.
Yeah.
Together we can help shape a better future for America.
Together we can make an inclusive future where everybody is valued and everybody is bought into our system.
I remember when they succeed, all of us succeed, America succeed.
The reason I'm in this is because if we don't take care of our most vulnerable, the ones that are on the outskirts, the kids with the disabilities who have strengths, but we don't see them for that, the immigrants who people judge by where they came from and not what they're bringing to the table, we're not going to succeed. We'll fail.
You're absolutely right. The question that I have for you, Fairfax County is very diverse.
It is.
As you probably know.
Which I love about it, by the way.
Which is great for this nation because our diverse society is a strength.
Absolutely.
And immigrants infuse this nation with far horizons and new frontier, thereby keeping the hope alive and well. As President Kennedy wrote in 1950 in a book called Nation of Immigrants.
Yep.
And he was very proud of his immigrant roots being an Irish.
Absolutely.
And you should be proud of your roots as Indian American. So tell us a little bit about what would you do if you're elected for the Indian American, in particular, in general, for all the minorities who shape the society and who shape the county of the Fairfax?
Well, the first thing I think we need to do is we need to change our culture of anti-immigrant backlash right now, and we need to address the hate in our schools.
So you want to remove the hatred and bigotry?
I want to address the culture that's created hatred and bigotry, right? And that starts with our education with our kids, right? And then I also want to highlight the wonderful things immigrants bring to the table. And for the Indian American community in particular, having been raised by parents who value education, I think making sure that our Indian American kids are understood, are respected for their culture, and provided the education they deserve.
You're
right,
absolutely.
And that's
they bring the broad-based benefits to our economy.
they do. Indian Americans contribute more to the economy as a group than other groups do, and they start more businesses as a group. And so I want to make sure our children have the tools, but our schools and our community recognize the value immigrants bring. I think too much is the conversation is what immigrants take away, and we don't think about what immigrants bring.
Did you know that 70% of the students in high school are the children of the immigrant who are the future scientists and engineers of this nation?
Absolutely. If you look at, my daughter's studying computer science, right? I can tell you at Cornell, where she is, most of her class are children of immigrants, if not immigrants themselves. Our builders, our engineers, the ones who are going to create our future, there are immigrants as much as they are people who are born here, and we need to recognize and value and support that. I know when I was in school as a child of an immigrant, I felt very othered. People didn't understand me. They made fun of my name. I think we need to change that culture.
Well, have you ever talked to President Obama?
I have one time.
Well, he's a good friend of ours for a long, long time. So he always jokes about his own name.
I know. I remember he said that. He said, I remember he said, if a funny kid with a funny name can get elected, anybody
when
can.
I went to India with him 3 or 4 years ago, I remember sitting with him for a dinner, and he talked a little bit about that inclusiveness and the tolerant society that we need in India as well.
Yes, we do.
He was really great in advocating that case when we met with the Prime Minister. But thank you very, very much for coming here.
Thank you very much for the time.
Any last thought before I close the conversation with you?
You know, my last thought is that I think we need diverse voices representing groups that haven't been represented on the school board.
That is true, because that reflects the society, because we have a very diverse society in Fairfax County.
And education is the bedrock of our society, right? So if we don't have the voices reflected in education policy, it all falls apart.
You're right. Education empowers the mind and uplifts the soul.
It does.
Education is the gift that keeps on giving.
Well, and it's the gift that makes our society as a whole better.
As President Obama said, education will be the currency of the 21st century.
I do. I love that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. It was great talking to you.
This is Frank Islam wishing you a great week, and thank you for watching.